Hello and welcome to VOW TV, Voice of Wisdom, sizzling breakfast today. That is Wednesday, the 5th of November 2025. And Yemi Balogun is my name. Wow. My first question to you is, did you watch The Twilight Zone yesterday? Because if you didn't, you missed something heavy. You missed something heavy. And the reason is because we had an interview with a man who is actually in the eye of the storm. In the eye of the storm. That man of God has been on the ground in Nigeria for many years. He's a pastor. He went to Germany on mission, and from Germany, the Lord told him to go back to Nigeria and feed his people, Christians, with information that will save their lives, information that will transform Christianity in that nation. And he went back and he started working in the midst of the internally displaced persons. He visited their camps, he gave them money, food, everything. And you know what? He was with us on the Twilight Zone, explaining to us what was actually going on. It's incredible. So if you missed that program, please make sure you look for it on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and share it wide, even on Truth Social. Yes, and share it far and wide. That program blew a hole in all the lies and propaganda from people who are denying the Christian genocide taking place in Nigeria right now. So, but the good news is, after this program this morning, we're going to play that program again. We're going to play that program again. And when we play the program, I want you to please call as many friends as possible to watch. And also click to subscribe to this channel on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Truth Social, so that I can get fresh materials coming from us regularly. We cover stories that others are afraid to cover. Yes, stories others are afraid to touch. So please join us this morning. Well, there's a lot to unpack this morning, but we're going to take it step by step. Yes, I'm going to acknowledge a lot of you watching in a minute, but the devotional for today, I'm going to actually take it from the book of Daniel. The book of Daniel. And that book is a beautiful book. God got me to read that book, and I've been reading it. I've been stopping and starting, and it's heavy. It is heavy. And I'll tell you why, because I'm going to share something from that book in a minute. Because when you look at the story of Daniel, him and several young men were taken into captivity. They were taken from Judah into Babylon. And in Babylon, they were in the king's palace. Young men, good-looking, strong, intelligent, gifted, talented. So, what now happened was that they were told, this king told his servants to make sure they were well fed, so they look good, so they can tap into the grace on their lives for the kingdom of Babylon. But guess what? The other guys ate. And they enjoyed it. They enjoyed the king's wine, his meat, his food, everything. They ate. But Daniel and three other guys, who we know as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to eat that food. Because as far as they are concerned, the Old Testament is the law. And in the Old Testament, God gave them strict diet restrictions. So they were supposed to only eat food that was kosher. So Daniel them knew that the food prepared for the king was not kosher. So they refused to eat. But guess what? When the when the king's servant came over to check them after a while, Daniel and his 3 friends looked a lot better than the other guys who ate the food. They looked better. But maybe I shouldn't even bother about reading the full story. Just share the story with you like they would do on Superbook. They looked better. Because when you obey God, He makes everything in your system to work perfectly for His own glory. And guess what? These 4 guys, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were the ones that separated themselves to pray, to be able to interpret the king's dream. And because of that prayer of agreement, I believe God visited them and revealed the king's secrets to them. And as a result, only those 4 guys got promoted into the high places of Babylon. The others, we don't even know who they are because their names did not appear in the Bible. So you and I have to be disciplined. We have to try to avoid being carnal so that we can be useful tools in the hands of God. Because like I've quoted several times, God said, Jacob I love, but Esau I hate. But God, we know that God does not hate a man. He hated what Esau stood for, carnality. So as Christians, we must make sure we move away from carnality. Even if we have to fast to become skinny and lose a lot of weight in the process, let us do it. Because I remember when I got born again, the Spirit of the Lord started talking to me. He said, declare fast. He said, in the natural, you lose weight. Friends who see you, they think something is wrong with you. He said, but don't worry. He said, but inside, you'll be loaded. So I proceeded. But those were some of the best days of my Christian life. So we need to really, really get connected with God. So I'm going to go over to the headlines we have this morning. One question we have, major one, still talking about Nigeria. Just make sure you're hanging around at the end of this breakfast show because we're going to show you the twilight zone from yesterday of how this man of God debunked all the lies and propaganda of the Nigerian government and their stooges across the world, saying, oh, it's not genocide, it is genocide. Because when you have over 8 million people displayed into internally displaced people's camp, 8 million. So what caused the 8 million to run away? So for 8 million to run away, that means many more have been slaughtered. Because if there was no genocide, 8 million would not be in camps. They'll be in their homes, on their farms, looking after themselves. So we're going to be asking, why are successive Nigerian governments unable to curb the Christian genocide taking place in the country? From the program last night, we discovered that a lot of the ruling elite in Nigeria, they are playing politics with the lives of millions of people. Politics, which is so sad. And really, that is why I want you to mark my statement so it's not taken out of context. That is why when a military leader like the one they had in Ghana years ago, Rawlings, came into power in a brutal coup, killing all the generals, then you understand the anger out there. He killed all the generals and ruled the nation for about 19 years. And those 19 years restored peace and prosperity to that nation, which Ghana is still enjoying till today. So that's why I used to say in the past, when someone carries out a coup in Nigeria, oh, it is a bloodless coup. It's not a coup, it's just a handover. Someone has stolen enough and a new guy is coming to steal. That's what they've been doing. If you mean business, make it bloody. Because when it's bloody, you know that if you don't deliver, it's going to be bloody for you as well. And that's what Rawlings did in Ghana. It was bloody, and as a result, he knew he had to deliver, or he's dead. But we say, oh, it was a bloodless coup, a peaceful handover. It's just handing over from one criminal to another. So we're going to be looking at that story. Why are successive Nigerian governments unable to curb the Christian genocide? And we're looking at the BBC propaganda. What can be done to clean up the shattered image of that corporation? It's messed up. We knew this for years, but they kept denying it until it gets to the point where their backside is now being open to the whole world. Now, no respect for BBC, useless station. Should the TV license be scrapped? I believe it should be scrapped because if they believe their wokeism and all those their foolish pro-Islam agenda will be bought by many out there, let them go look for the money from that area. We know, of course, if they go private, their brothers in Qatar will pump billions into their pockets to carry on with the madness. So maybe it should be shut down completely because it's not fit for purpose. How do you flush out the left-wing activists from the BBC? How do you get rid of those guys? They are fully entrenched. That's why they do a lot of things with boldness. And then when you complain, they double down on madness. Then why is Nicki Minaj praising President Trump? What did she say? That the left-wingers are angry with her because they don't expect anyone to praise President Trump. Then another question is, how do you handle illegal migrants? How do you deal with them? Then our UNRWA, that's the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees, those are the employees of UNRWA. Are they part of the Palestinian problem? Because apparently UNRWA vehicles were used to move the terrorists around and the hostages. Why did the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations call a United Nations envoy a witch? We're going to be looking at that and many more this morning. But first of all, let's get going with the first video this morning. And it is a testimony of an ex-Muslim who gave her life to Christ after realizing the truth. So this video will bless you. Here it is.
Jesus, are you really God? Because if you are, my family's gonna disown me. I need you to make it real to me. Like, I need to know that I know that you are God. The number one sin in their religion is called shirk. And that is the number one sin. It's that there's the belief that there's more than one God. But the way Muslim people look at Christianity is that it's a polytheistic religion, that the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, there's three gods. In my mind, I was like, if Jesus is God, I'm committing the biggest unforgivable sin. As I was reading the Bible, I just knew that Jesus is God. He's not a prophet. I was reading about the miracles he was doing, and I was like, I never saw miracles in Islam. I'm reading about the way he heals people, and I'm like, no, this can't just be another prophet, because even Muhammad wasn't doing what he's doing. So I started feeling conviction. Why do I not like the things I used to love? It's just strictly the Bible. The Bible's literally convicting me, but it's bringing healing to me. God's literally, within 3 months, completely renewing my mind from how I view homosexuality, how I view sex before marriage, secular music, drinking. August 15th, 2 days after my birthday, I was like, oh, I'm going to get baptized. I remember in front of my whole church, I said, my name is Nadine, and I declare Jesus as the Lord and Savior of my life. I was like, I have to tell my family. I told my dad, and over 2 years, my dad had me blocked completely off everything. He attempted suicide for his third time because he found that I was a Christian. He said, you have brought shame to our family. They found a whole suicide note about how, he attempted because my daughter's a Christian. I failed in life. But during this time, I'm praying for my family. The Lord starts to show me, you need to forgive your family. You need to forgive your dad for the ways he's abused you. And I'm like, no, why? Don't you see what he's done? I cried. And I was just like, okay, Jesus, if you forgave me, I need to forgive. Because if he could forgive me, who am I not to forgive my dad? So I started forgiving him. I said, I'm going to say it. I forgive my father for all the abuse he's put me through. I forgive him. I forgive him. I forgive him. And as I started to say that, something would just break. Something was breaking off me. The rejection and the pain was breaking off me. My dad, after 2 years, sends me a text message, maybe like 5 paragraphs of him apologizing to me for everything he had done to me since I was a little girl. I called him. I was like, I love you. I don't see my dad as the person who abused me. I see him now as someone that God wants to reach. I have completely forgiven my father. I love him. I see him with the eyes of the Lord. And that's only by God. It's only because I understand how much I've been forgiven. When you come to Jesus, it's not just a better life. It's a new life. It's a brand new life. Jesus is my Savior. He's not just the Savior. He's my Savior. He saved me. He saved me from addiction. He saved me from homosexuality. He saved me from the lust of the world. He saved me, and he wants to save you. He is the Savior. There's no other Savior. He is the only Savior. You are never, ever too far gone for God's love, mercy, and grace. He is ready to welcome you with open arms.
Welcome back. Forgiveness is the key. And that's what happens when you give your life to Christ. The Holy Spirit floods your heart with so much love. And that love makes it easy for you to forgive. That happened to me when I got born again. I've shared that testimony many times. Yes, he floods your heart with love. That love is just heavy, that you can't afford not to forgive others, which is why we thank God for his goodness and his mercies that endure it forever. Praise the Lord. You know what? Let's go on because we have to cover a lot of ground this morning. And there's this pastor, I love him so much, Pastor Orlando. He's always a speaker's corner, taking on the Muslims. I share his materials because a lot of times you see that it's like he's teaching us Christians how to take on the Muslims, in discussions, in debates and everything. He's a superb guy in that area. He's been a speaker's corner for over 30 years. So he knows all the questions they would ask. And he knows all the answers he has to give to them. And the Muslims, a lot of them are so dumb. They'll come forward with some foolish argument. But when you blow it apart, they run away. Or they try to change the subject. But thank God for Pastor Orlando. And he's just a wonderful man. He says the Muslims are always trying to use the Bible to authenticate the Quran. But then they'll tell you the Bible is corrupted. So if it's corrupted, you see they are dodgy. So they're now trying still to use the same Bible to authenticate the Quran. But when you now tell them, okay, if the Bible is corrupted, then don't use the Bible to authenticate the Quran. Speak through the Quran alone to confirm who Allah is, who Muhammad is. That is when they see that they have no point. Their religion is zero. So here is Pastor Orlando taking on the hypocrisy of Islam.
For any Christian to understand this book, it has to be translated in a language that is understood. Now, if I don't speak Arabic, there's nothing in earth you could tell me in Arabic to get me to understand a God in Arabic, a language that I don't know.
Do you have the original manuscript?
No, you understand what? Have you read Quran before? Have you read it in what language you read it in? English. Why not Arabic?
I can't read Arabic.
You can't read Arabic. So you have just proved the point. Now,
we know that we have the original manuscript.
Okay. Now, if you want to get to God, God want to get to you, what's the best way God will get to you? Does God want you to come to him without not knowing him or knowing anything about him? Or you personally? The only way you can stand in faith to declare God unless you know him for yourself.
But we know him. Yeah.
Okay, how do you know Allah for yourself? What method do you use?
Bible, Quran.
Let him speak. Let him speak.
The Bible is in English, sir.
Okay. What your answer is? What your answer is? What your answer is? What's your answer?
The Quran.
The Quran. Okay. We're going to go deep now. Who is a Muslim? Yes.
A Muslim who
What does Muslim mean? One who submit to Allah. Now, how do you submit to Allah when there's no writings of Quran and there's no knowledge of Allah? Because the knowledge you have of Allah is through Quran. Because there was no Quran, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, even 6th century.
Okay,
none.
Before the Bible.
Sir, when was the Quran compiled?
What's your point?
How long was that after Jesus? More than 600 years after Jesus.
When did Jesus get involved? Look, what about before?
But I'm just trying to give an example. I'm giving you a good example.
Your example.
Sir. Let me finish. Let me finish now. Now, without it, sorry, can you be a Muslim without Quran? Can you be a Muslim without the hadith or the teachings of Muhammad? Yeah, without Quran.
Yeah,
you can be. First of all, I've heard that.
He says, La ilaha illallah Muhammad.
Okay, you say that, but where did you get that teaching from? From the where? From the book again. So you're denying the book as you feel like. How can you be a Muslim? Let me ask a question. Can you be a Muslim without the Quran?
What do you mean by without the Quran?
If there was no Quran, if there was no Quran in the earth, how would you be a Muslim?
There is a Quran.
And if you be a Muslim, which God are you submitting to?
We're not just going through the definition.
No, brother, these are serious questions.
It's the definition.
Sorry.
Going into fairyland.
Can I give him the land? Can I break it down to him now?
Say the same thing. There was no Bible.
Let me give you the example. Let me give you the answer. There were prophets before Bible and Torah was written who knew God for themselves.
Yeah, we believe in that too.
Okay. So is it possible you can know God without Torah or without Quran?
You know God without knowing the Bible. You earlier said that Adam alayhi salam walked with God.
Sorry now. Let's go further now. Adam was the first prophet. There was no sin upon the earth. No other human being was upon the earth. What was his prophecy to an empty world where there was no sin upon the earth?
Believe in God, do good to your fellow man.
Who taught Adam that?
That is religion.
Who taught Adam that? Who taught Adam that?
Believe in God.
Beg your pardon? Let me go again. Sorry. This is Adam. Example.
Where's your Bible in
Now,
Arabic?
there was no other human being but him alone in Speaker's Corner. And the trees here. There was no sin upon the earth. The Bible, there's 3 words that are the ending 3 words in every paragraph of the Bible. It was good. It was good. And God made man, it was good. Now, nothing was corrupted into the earth. Now, what was the prophecy and what was so bad upon an uncorrupted earth that God need to choose Adam as a prophet for what? Nothing was on the earth. Trees, everything was made good. Adam didn't have his wife as yet. Sin never even tempted Adam as yet.
Where are you getting this information from, by the way? Tell me.
Me tell you? Well, how you make Adam a prophet?
Where is he getting this information?
How do you make a man a prophet? What are prophets for? Come again? I'm not making a claim. You make the claim the Bible is corrupted. You make the claim that these men are prophets. That's your religion that makes those claims. Your religion makes those claims. Sir, do me a favor. I promised myself I would not do this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it the other way. You see, when you don't learn, I find that you're a follower. And with the followers, you follow what you were told. Do me a favor, read the Bible for yourself and read these books for yourself. You have read the Bible? Okay. Do me a favor. Have you, okay, sorry. Can we talk? Can we talk? We need to wrap this up because I have the book.
You're a follower of the church. That's what he is. That's the whole.
Are you ready now? Are you finished now? You're ready to finish now? I wrap it up. I have to wrap it up with you because I know you don't have much knowledge about anything. Put it this way. Let me wrap it up now. My brother,
make him understand.
I'm going to wrap it up with this.
Make him understand the point.
On the day of... Can I wrap it up now? What's my finger? You have never met Allah. You have never spoken to him. You don't know what he looks like. He doesn't reveal himself to you. You don't know anything about him. On the day of judgment, who are you expecting to see to judge you? Forget the Bible. Forget the Bible. Forget the Bible. Forget the Bible. The Bible is corrupted. Don't use it. Don't use the Bible. It's corrupted. Finish it. The Bible is corrupted. The Bible is corrupted. Don't use it. Don't use it. Don't use it. Don't use it. Forget about using Bible text to justify the Quranic answers. No. If the Bible is corrupted, you can't use the text.
No, but you don't believe it.
Let me ask the question again.
The question is,
On the day of judgment, who are you expecting to see to stand before to judge you? You have been praying all your life to this Allah. What does he look like, and how would you know when he shows up? That's him.
okay, yeah. How you
Thank God for Pastor Orlando. Thank God for the life of that gentleman. Fully loaded. Wow. Can you imagine? Logic. So if there's no Quran, can you be a Muslim? The answer is no. Because they became Muslims because of the Quran and Muhammad. So Muhammad didn't even hear from God. He heard from a so-called angel Gabriel. Can you imagine? So Muslims have a problem. Muhammad has tried to copy the Bible and he's made huge mistakes. Huge mistakes in the Bible, in the Quran. He's calling Adam a prophet. So how can Adam be a prophet if there's no one to prophesy to? Complete madness. And a lot of Christians believe that Allah is an Arabian god. Just like in Nigeria, you have those lesser gods, Shango, Ogun, Obatala, all those strange gods, Hindu god, Buddhist gods. That's why you have to pray to him in Arabic. The same way, if you have to talk to Ogun, you have to chant to Ogun, you chant in Yoruba language. You say your incantations in Yoruba language. If you say it in English, Ogun cannot understand because he hasn't been to university. So if you speak to Allah in English, he can't understand. Yoruba, he can't because he hasn't been to school. The person he spoke through was not educated. So he only speaks Arabic. It's a regional God, small God. But the God of the Bible, the mighty one of Israel, the man of war, is the true and real God. He spoke to his people and he did wonders. Praise the Lord. Thank God for Pastor Orlando. If you happen to go to Speaker's Corner and you see him, go give him a hug and a shake. And thank God for his life. Praise the Lord. Yes, let me just quickly acknowledge some of you this morning watching. I got Brother John Ludlam watching. And he says, good morning, Yemi and Sylvia, and all watching today. God bless you, sir. Auntie Ruth Awunusi says, good morning, Pastor Yemi, your beautiful wife, Sylvia, and VOW TV family. Shalom. And my dear daughter, Gina Lillywhite, we need to talk later. Sister, we need to talk. We need to have a heart-to-heart talk. God bless you. And our dear sister Lola Skinner is watching, and she says, good morning, family. And that's the wife of King David Skinner. Praise the Lord. Auntie Ida Olagbaye says, good morning, Pastor Yemi and VOW TV family. Wow. She was talking about the testimony before of the former Muslim. She said, wow, she's really passionate about the Lord. We give God all the glory. Yes, we give God glory. And our dear Auntie Joyce Winter says, good morning, Pastor Yemi and VOW TV family. And here we have our Uncle Chris Hogg with his early morning message, and the title is New York Mayor. Yes, they got a new mayor in New York. He's a Muslim, and apparently he's the youngest, and he calls himself something socialist. Oh Lord, I feel for New Yorkers. They're in trouble, big trouble. This guy's been financed and polished like Obama to get into America and cause trouble. Anyway, please watch The Twilight Zone when it's played after this program this morning. Uncle Chris Hawk says, good morning, Brother Yemi. Chris from Penzance said regarding the election of the New York mayor, who is a Democrat, left-wing, and as they say, what you vote for is what you are. Not only that the Democrats are exploiting and voting for all the things that the Word of God is against, they are sending themselves to judgment. That was a short email, and I said, yes, God bless you too. Pretty short, and it's good. You keep it short and sweet. God bless you. I'm going to go on to the next video, and here's his Honorable Jacob Rees-Mogg talking about the BBC and their left-wing bias, and is asking for the TV license fee to be scrapped. Yeah, because of BBC's disinformation and how they doctored speeches made by President Trump to make him look like a bad guy. The BBC is rotten from the head to the bottom. Here is that video from GB News.
What we learned today is devastating for the BBC's reputation at home and abroad. A leaked internal memo seen by the Daily Telegraph reveals that the corporation doctored a speech by President Donald Trump to make him appear to encourage the Capitol Hill riots.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
According to the whistleblower, the Panorama programme edited together separate parts of Trump's words, added foreboding music and juxtaposed them with footage of the Capitol riots that were shot before the speech had even been made. The aim was to create the false impression that he had exhorted his supporters to take violent action. This is shameful. It's worse than any other editorial legerdemain that we have seen in the past. Far worse than the Martin Bashir interview of Diana, Princess of Wales. The then princess may have been misled, but she wanted to do the interview anyway. Donald Trump has words attributed to him that he simply did not say, and it's a fraud. The BBC, which is funded by you, the public, via tax, presented manipulated footage as a fact to back its own left-wing agenda. For decades, many of us have suspected the BBC of bias, whether over Brexit, Gaza, green policies or cultural affairs, and this is further confirmation of that suspicion. Not only was President Trump misrepresented, but the dossier also flags bias in the coverage of Gaza by the Arabic Service, censorship of transgender debates, and dismissals of complaints raised by the corporation's own standards watchdog. Senior executives, including the Director General, Tim Davey, and the Chairman, Samir Shah, were alerted, but of course, reportedly, they turned a blind eye. Complaints from the Standards Committee were apparently dismissed. Warnings about dangerous editorial behaviour were seemingly ignored. Internationally, this is catastrophic for the BBC's reputation. It shatters it. Foreign governments can no longer be expected to trust the BBC, must damage the standing of the World Service after it has deliberately misrepresented one of the main world leaders. How can the public now be expected to pay a licence fee to fund an organisation that does not uphold impartiality, that lies to its audience to support its own lefty worldview, and that refuses to hold its executives accountable? This scandal should encourage the government to scrap the ridiculous licence fee once and for all. No taxpayer should be obliged to fund a broadcaster that is a front for political activism. This is more than an isolated case of bias. It's malpractice, deception, fraud and cover-up, a stain on the BBC's escutcheon and, by extension, on that of Britain. As always, let me know what you think. mailmog@gbnews.com.
Welcome back. Thank God for GB News. Can you imagine? The BBC is rotten from the top to the bottom. And it's just so sad and unfortunate. It's terrible. And the sad thing is, they are all over Africa. Yes, with the propaganda. And the sad thing about Africans is that when the Africans are watching the BBC in Africa, they don't know there's a different version of the BBC that they are watching. They're not watching the same thing we are watching here. Yes, they've tailored things for them as well to keep them totally blind. I saw a few of BBC reports from Nigeria, and you can see that the BBC in Nigeria is actually, biased towards the northern part of Nigeria, towards the Muslims. They are the ones that would deny that there's genocide. That's BBC. That's their work in Nigeria. And the government there love the BBC because they know that that's what they're up to, which is very sad and unfortunate, But you know what? Let's keep praying. I'm going to go to the next video. We just want to say another gentleman from GB News, Patrick Christie's. And he says, heads must roll after Gaza bias exposed. The BBC, bias is so glaring and it's unbelievable. Here's that report.
It's game over for the BBC. Today, evidence emerged that will bring the state broadcaster to its knees, should see its Director General and Head of News sacked, and lead to a massive public apology to us all. A leaked dossier revealed the BBC pumped Hamas propaganda into our homes and around the world, and the powers that be ignored it, covered it up, and allowed it to continue. On BBC Arabic, they platformed Samer El-Zainan 244 times between November 2023 and April 2025. Now, he posted on social media, apparently, that Jews should be burnt like Hitler did. They platformed Ahmad Al-Ajar, who described Jews as, quotes, devils and Israelis as less than human. He was on 522 times during the same period. The BBC failed to mention that many Palestinian prisoners were actually guilty of terror crimes, including bombings and knife attacks. It gave unjustifiable weight to Hamas's claims about the death toll in Gaza. They did a report about a female sex slave being released from Gaza, then ran a 600-word statement from Hamas calling her a liar. It incorrectly claimed the International Court of Justice had ruled that genocide was taking place. Newsnight highlighted claims that thousands of babies were on the brink of starvation in Gaza, that it already knew to be false. And that is the key point there, that they already knew to be false claims. BBC Arabic is partly funded by our Foreign Office, so it's your money. The Foreign Office should withdraw funding and demand a refund right now. The BBC, through the independent production company it used, also stands accused of paying Hamas for this documentary that they had to take off air because the boy here just happens to be the son of a Hamas government minister.
Morning. You all right? Have you ever wondered what you'd do if your world was destroyed?
Last night, it was revealed that BBC Panorama appeared to doctor a speech by President Trump to make it seem like he instigated riots.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
But this is the worst bit. So this leaked report that is just coming to light now reveals how, having made such serious and misleading journalistic errors, BBC executives chose to hide them from the public rather than correct the record. In doing so, they appear to have deliberately chosen to mislead licence fee payers. And on that note, look what I received in the post today. There you go. So if you don't want to pay for this extreme level of indoctrination, lies, deceit and propaganda, they threaten to send round the heavies for you. They will knock on your front door any time of the morning, afternoon or evening. If they find that you've been watching TV, they can interview you under caution, fine you £1,000 plus legal costs, criminalise you and then force you to pay for a licence fee. What was announced on Monday? Oh, they are expected to hike the price of the TV licence above 180 quid for the first time ever. Thank you, BBC. Taxpayers have to pay for the privilege of being indoctrinated by BBC bias. I mean, the leaked document is a huge scandal. Heads must roll, but it's just the latest in a long line of huge BBC scandals.
Very much so. Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
Martin Bashir's Princess Diana interview, well, it turned out that Bashir used fake bank statements and deceitful behaviour to secure that Panorama interview. It was based on lies. They put a helicopter above Cliff Richard's house and did live coverage of a police raid. He was, of course, later acquitted of all allegations. They had to pay him £2 million. I mean, if they wanted to report on cases involving alleged sex criminals, well, frankly, they should just walk around their own office.
One note of caution, always be careful. It's important to check all the sources. They might not be giving you the full picture.
Hugh Edwards, convicted of being in possession of the worst category of child porn. The country's most notorious paedophile, Jimmy Savile, stalked their corridors for decades.
It could be good. good. I hope it'll be good. Well, it will be. It'll be fantastic.
Well, there you go. That's just another paedophile at the BBC, isn't it? Rolf Harris. Any more? Oh, yeah. Stuart Hall in 2013, he pleaded guilty to 14 counts of indecent assault against 13 girls, some as young as 9 years old, with offences occurring between 1967 and 1985, during which time he was at the BBC. Some other issues they've had just in the last year. Gary Lineker, Bob Villan, he claimed that BBC staff praised him after his Glastonbury performance, which of course was just beamed out live to an audience of millions.
Death, death to the IDF, death, death to the IDF, death, death to the IDF, death, death to the IDF.
There's people like Greg Wallace, aren't there? It's also just like the rampant left-wing bias, which they've had to apologise for.
He has said that this is now a matter of national security.
Nigel Farage with his customary inflammatory language there at a Reform UK press conference.
A little bit more left-wing bias.
Well, this is all very exciting, isn't it? Hello and welcome to our look ahead to what the papers will be bringing us tomorrow. Am I allowed to be this gleeful? Well, I am.
Yeah, that was the day Boris Johnson went, so there you go. And that's before we've spoken about them being accused of ageism and sexism for getting rid of older female presenters on shows like Country File and Strictly Come Dancing. The BBC is finished. It should just turn itself into a commercial channel. Stop demanding taxpayers for this cacophony of detritus and stick to doing what it does best. Programmes about trans people, shows about how the burqa is a good thing for women's rights and about how the Anglo-Saxons were actually all mixed race.
Hello.
Wow, wow, wow. Can you imagine? This is the garbage we've all been paying for. Garbage. Unbelievable. Useless people. It's terrible. Because the BBC I knew was the ones we're talking about, the 60s, the 70s, the early 80s, kind of. You know, objective. Arguments from both sides, and then, you know, people get informed. But now they don't care because it became too powerful. And it's because if you don't pay the license fee, they pick you up. And many are afraid. So, you know, I'm not afraid. Many are afraid. So as a result, you bend your knees to them. And they use your money to sell you propaganda that you don't want. You know what? Let's move forward. I'm going to read your materials in a minute. There's another video we need to check out. This one is about President Trump. It's about Nicki Minaj. You remember Nicki Minaj? An American musician who went to perform at a Nigerian senator's birthday some years ago in Nigeria. I learned they paid her, 6 to 7 figure sums for that performance. And many of the rich guys were happy to be there. And now here she is talking about praising President Trump for his response to the genocide taking place against Christians in Nigeria.
Donald Trump designated Nigeria back as a country of particular concern, and he wrote last week on Truth Social that Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for the mass slaughter. I'm hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern. But that is the least of it. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. We stand ready, willing and able to save our great Christian population around the world. Now, since Donald Trump posted about that, singer Nicki Minaj actually shared Donald Trump's message to her 30 million followers. She wrote, "Reading this made me feel a deep sense of gratitude that we live in a country where we can freely worship God. No group should ever be persecuted for practicing their religion. We don't have to share the same beliefs in order for us to respect each other. Numerous countries all around the world are being affected by this horror, and it is dangerous to pretend we don't notice." Thank you to the President and his team for taking this seriously. God bless every persecuted Christian. Let's remember to lift them up in prayer. Now, it's refreshing to hear more people speak about this, because as we spoke about last time, it barely gets a mention on a lot of mainstream media outlets.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed that last time, and I think I said at the time, Christians and Nigerians or Africans broadly don't get mention. it's thankful that shows like this outside the mainstream media cover it because it needs to be said. And I think, unfortunately, those who really don't maybe hold a faith themselves, or they're not too worried about Christianity as something important, don't worry. But the fact is, if you dismiss the rights of religious freedom, you dismiss the rights of all people, because religious freedom for the believer is just as needed for the non-believer, because it gives them the rights to believe or not believe. So we need to have this. It's the foundation of our humanity, to be able the ability to believe and not believe. So I think that's vital, and thank goodness for what's coming up, because I think, I'm not saying whether we go to war or don't go to war, and that's not for me to comment, but really the ability to put it on the table and keep on saying there is a problem here in Nigeria. 4,000 to 6,000 Christians are being killed a year in a conservative number. 2 to 3 million have been displaced from their homes. We wouldn't let that happen anywhere, but we seem to just let it happen there and go on our daily business. It can't go on.
Yeah, the international watchdog group Open Doors reported that nearly 70% of Christians killed last year for their faith were in Nigeria. Groups like Boko Haram, Islamic State West Africa Province and Fulani militants are being blamed for most of the attacks, often targeting Christian farmers. Rights groups estimate that between, as you said, 4,000 to 6,000 being a conservative estimate, some are reportedly there are reports of up to 8,000 Christian deaths annually. Yet Nigeria's president says that Nigeria stands firmly as a democracy governed by constitutional guarantees of religious liberty. He wrote, "The characterization of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality, nor does it take into consideration the consistent and sincere efforts of the government to safeguard freedom of religion and benefits for all Nigerians. Religious freedom and tolerance have been a core tenet of our collective identity and shall always remain so." What do you make of that statement?
His response is a political response. He talks about constitutional guarantees and religious liberty, as he should, but that's not the experience on the ground. And these Nigerians who are fighting for their life or fighting for their freedom don't really see that. In Nigeria, there used to be a situation where the vice president and the president, one would be Christian, one would be Muslim, and this went on until 2023. We don't have that now. We have a Muslim ticket. I'm not saying that's at its heart problematic, but it's not a representation of half the population, which is Christian. So they can't buy land to build a church. They can't take on government jobs. There are restrictions on them and the way they live and move. And so the president can say that, and maybe that's, he's doing the best he can at best, but it's not working and it's not enough on the ground, because the Christians can't live in that pasture at the very beginning.
Yeah.
It's desperate to be heard, for someone to reach out and do something for them.
Welcome back. That was Sky News Australia. Thank God for Sky News Australia. Yes, the problem in Nigeria today is that the Muslims have become bold, that they don't care any longer. They give you 2 Muslims as president and vice president, and it's take it or leave it. And the reason is because they know they're going to rig the elections, and they do rig the election. Because this current president, I don't believe won the election, but it was rigged. And it was rigged to protect the ones before him who have stolen billions of dollars from the system. Well, you know what? God has their number. I'll just quickly go to another video now. It's a pretty short one. And this one says terrorism is part of Islam. It's a divine command from Allah. So when you see all those guys stabbing people, they don't have mental health issues. No, they don't. That is a command from Allah. It's only our people in authority who try to cover for them by telling lies. Oh, they may have mental health. There's no mental health issues. That's what the Quran says. Except if the book makes you to have mental health issues, then it should be banned. Here is that story.
We're commanded to terrorize the disbelievers. And this is a religion, like I said.
Commanded to terrorize the disbelievers?
The Quran says very clearly in the Arabic language, Turhibuna. This means terrorize them. It's a command from Allah.
And for your information, my dear Muslim brothers and sisters, terrorism is part and parcel of Islam. Terrorism is part of the deen of Islam. Yes. Allah said in the ayah, وَعَدُّوا لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ وَمِنْ رِبَاطِ الْخَيْرِ تَرْهِبُونَ بِهِ عَدُوَّ اللَّهِ. To terrify the enemies of Allah, we should prepare ourselves. Al-i'dad al-jihad, prepare to go to jihad, is fard wa 'ayn on the Muslims, on the males like us here. That's why you should teach your son how to ride, how to shoot, because it's the sunnah of the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's fard on you as a father to teach him how to become a mujahid. It's not some new phenomenon to kill the enemies of Allah. And you may say to yourself, no, they're innocent. No kafir is innocent. innocence, this, abriya is only for the Muslims. No kafir is innocent.
You see, you can hear it from the horse's mouth. Allah told them to terrorize you, and they are in our midst. They're uttering that madness every day, and the police can't round them up. The BBC won't go and put cameras in these mosques because they are pro-Islam, but they go and put a camera in a church, put a camera elsewhere, but not in a mosque. When you know that the threat is coming from these people, you know what? Let me just play one final video now before I now read your materials, and we'll look through the front pages of the papers. And this one is from GB News, where a Polish minister of state was explaining how you deal with illegal migrants, which is why there's no terrorist attack in Poland, no rape by all these mad people, nothing negative. Here's that story.
We put the cuffs, we put them on the plane and send them back from whatever they came from. It's simple as that.
So
and all these papers.
Would you say that British lawyers and politicians who say it's impossible are not telling the truth?
Well, they do not know how to deal with the real problem. This is not a paper. This is not a film. This is not a movie. This is a real situation. And all these excuses, all these lawyers, I'm a lawyer too. I'm doing my PhD on human rights as well. I know what we can do and how we have to react as a politicians who are responsible for our families, for our citizens. This is not a theory. This is a time for people who can act, not debating. We are debating since 2015, as I said, when Germany started this method. It's time to act. So what I would say to your political elites or to the people, I would say, send them back. Do not read anything. Send them back. Protect yourself, because it's not about your fancy way of living. It's about protection. It's about surviving. It's not a joke. So many people are killed, raped, stabbed. How long can you wait? How many must suffer? How many must lose their lives until someone will take action? Now people are taking action. People are taking on the streets. I'm a proud European, proud Christian. I want Europe to be a Europe, not an Asia, Africa, or any other continent. I want Europe to be Europe. I was born here. I love this place. I love Europeans. I want to be European. I don't want to lose my identity. So if you love your country and if you are experienced throughout generations with such a horrible things, you do not want hijrah, jihadists. You do not want any of those. You do not want terrorists. You do not want people who wants to change your legal system to Sharia. You do not want people who wants to change your culture. You do not want people to take who you are. And we are proud Europeans.
And lastly, do you think Britain can get there? Do you think we can turn this around?
Yes. Yes, you can. But first of all, you have to take action. You have to stop discussing. You have to stop sitting on your beautiful couch. You have to take action. Take on the streets. Be peaceful. Go and vote. Decide about your future. It's time. It's time to decide. It's time to fight. And your weapon is your voice.
Wow. Now you can see why Poland doesn't have all those guys with mental health problems, stabbing their people in the streets, driving vehicles into their people in the street, raping their girls, because they have common sense, they have backbone, and they have buganzas. Yes, because they don't take rubbish. We have a lot of foolish people in our parliament. Oh, the law says this. So the law would tie your own hands and allow your nation to be invaded, for your lifestyle to be changed, for your way of life to be totally transformed, and for them to impose their own ideology on you. Which is why, please, you need to watch the Twilight Zone of yesterday. What is happening around the world today by Islamists had been planned and organized for years. And the driving force behind what is going on now is the Muslim Brotherhood. They are Hamas and Hezbollah in suits. When they were kicked out of the Arabian Peninsula, our foolish politicians said, well, because of human rights, we don't want them killed, they can come and stay in the UK. So they settled in the United Kingdom and America, And rather than planning to go back home, they know the guys back home know who they are. They rather thought, okay, the best thing is let's spread Islam in these countries of these fools who don't know what we are up to. It's like allowing a rattlesnake into your home and you think it is safe. And that's why we have all these problems now. They are entrenched. And it's hard for the authorities to handle it, which is why if we can get about 100 Trumps in Europe and America, we can reverse the trend. Yes, because it has to be reversed. Because something has to be done. Because if it's not done, then Europe is over. You don't have to go too far in history. Syria, Turkey, Lebanon, Egypt, formerly majority Christian nations, now they are minorities in their own country. Customs, way of life, traditions wiped out and filled with Islam and Sharia. And these funny guys coming this way now who are trying to impose Sharia here, why didn't they remain with the Sharia they imposed in their own side of the world? And that's the problem. The northern part of Nigeria, they introduced Sharia. Nothing is happening there because nobody will put an investment in a territory full of mad people. So as a result, they need money. And to get that money, they have to hold on to the guys in the south who have the resources. That is the problem. Anyway, let's hear from you. What do you think? You can send your emails to live@vowtv.org or your text messages or WhatsApp messages to the numbers displayed on the screen. Praise the Lord. Let me just check if there's any emails here. Okay. Right. Let's look at what... Okay, we got Auntie Sylvia Weaver. She's watching today. God bless you. I got your email, and I'm going to respond to it. I'll look for time today to respond to it. Please bear with me. And Pastor Benga Lawal. Yeah, but, anyway, I'll talk to you later. Pastor Benga Lawal. Also, can you send me your telephone number, please? Because it's easier for me to call than replying to emails. It makes life easier for me because I type too slow. God bless you. Pastor Benga Lawal says BBC is a fraud. Yes, any misrepresentation of facts can amount to a criminal offense under the Fraud Act of 2006, United Kingdom. They have dishonestly made a false representation. A representation is false if it is untrue or misleading, and the person knows that it is or might be untrue or misleading. BBC is not fit for purpose. We shouldn't be paying TV license only to be consuming poisonous materials and misleading information. BBC should go. Wow. Man of God, I agree with you totally. And based on your definition of fraudulent acts there, I think these guys have to be arrested. By the moment no one is talking about arresting them, it's like, it's normal. It's just a misbehavior. It's not. That's why I thank God for President Trump. When the interview of Kamala Harris was doctored to make her look good, he sued CBS and they paid out millions to him. And I think we need to be doing that here as well. Maybe a citizen like us, any citizen, maybe I might have to talk to a Citizens Advice Bureau to take on the BBC for fraudulent acts. If the police won't arrest them and send them straight to court, maybe we can use the law to put pressure on them. We have to talk to the Citizens Advice Bureau how we go about this so that they don't do this nonsense anymore. Take them up, in the high courts and see what happens. So I think that's the way to go, really, because you cannot be collecting people's money and then doctoring things to mislead them. It's madness. Millions have been misled. That's why you have so many ignorant people on social media spewing out ignorance, propaganda. And you say, these guys don't get it. Auntie Michelle Njie, she says, good morning, Pastor Yemi. Good morning to you, woman of God. How is the man of God and the entire tribe? God bless you, madam. Auntie Lorena Mitchell says, good morning, Pastor Yemi and the VOW TV family. Thanks for using your platform to help the Nigerian Christian pastors. We have to pay Wi-Fi to use any communication appliances. Stop playing TV. Okay. And she now says, where am I? Just one moment, please. She says, sent another message. She says, Pastor Yemi, YouTube has better news. Also, TikTok has better news than BBC. I don't even go near BBC because they're totally useless. The only thing I check from BBC website is football results. That's all. That's all they're good for. Because at least that one, they tell the truth. They tell you if Arsenal won the game, they've won. You can't say Arsenal lost when they didn't. So that's good news, which we thank God for. So that's what it is. Let me just quickly check for some more messages, and we move on to the front pages of the papers. Okay, let me see here. Good morning, Pastor. Yes, fantastic. My dear sister Lola Skinner says, because in America, they voted for these Muslim socialists to be the mayor of New York. She said, New York is finished. Why do people vote for their own demise? Do you know why? I'll explain to you. It is spiritual. Because most Muslims in most countries pray 5 times a day. So they're releasing things into the air. So if you are not born again, and even if you are born again and you are not strong in your faith, you are not prayerful, you don't fast, those spoken words would enter into your system to weaken you, to make you to start accepting things that are not acceptable and start doing things that you wouldn't normally do. That's why if you notice, the more you read the Bible, the more you hate sin. But the less you read the Bible, the more you accept sinfulness and the so-called progressive way of life. That is the problem. Yes, when they release things, it's like releasing incantations into the air. So if you are not strong, you are not born again, the incantation will affect you. Even the parliamentarians, they will start passing bills through parliament that you know that this is madness. But they themselves are not in control because they're under the influence of the devil. Apart from the Islamists, there are witches casting spells upon parliamentarians. Because you wonder, where did the idea come from to allow abortion till birth? That's witchcraft. Because in the kingdom of darkness, blood is the most expensive currency. So the more blood that is shed, the stronger Satan becomes. But he can never be as strong as our God, which is why we as Christians must resist abortion. We must remove it from the system. We must. Very important. It's so sad and unfortunate. But anyway, God is in control. So let's just move on to the front pages of the papers. And, okay. Auntie Lola Skinner, why do people vote for their own demise? Because they've been programmed by the devil. Let's look at the front pages of the papers, and on the front page of the Times, it says, Reeves lays ground for 1970s style tax increase. Are you listening? 1970s style tax increase. It is serious. The problem is that the liberals are wicked. They chuck history out of schools, or they dump it down so that you don't get true and proper history. So you don't know what happened before. So as a result, you are not able to change anything. You're supposed to just flow in the direction they want you to flow. That's why education has been weakened in this part of the world. What it is that in the 70s, the Labour government in power was actually running the economy along the same line as what Rachel Reeves is doing now. Yes, taxing everybody out of town. The rich ran out of town, industry was closing down, and the ones that remained were sacking workers, they were not employing more, and the country needed more money. Yes. Oh, there's a video I needed to show you, but I'll show it tomorrow. Mrs. Thatcher speaking. He said because it's not their money. So when they waste the money, they come back to you for more. Yes. And for the first time in the history of the United Kingdom, the government was going to borrow money from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. Normally, the kind of countries that go to the IMF are the countries that are referred to as third world countries. But UK now had to go for a loan from the IMF. And some of us who are old enough, we remember the winter of discontent, when the whole of London became like Birmingham. The bin men were on strike. There was garbage everywhere, rats, cockroaches in the streets. And it was winter time, so people were fed up. They were tired. The unions crippled the government because the unions were the ones who determine who remains in power or who is out of power. So they can cripple you till you lose an election. They determined that. And Mrs. Thatcher studied these guys and thought, if we carry on this way, the country is finished. So she came with an agenda. We're going to curb the powers of the union. We're going to turn things around, cut taxes, so that investors come back in and develop the city to become the financial hub of Europe. And she did exactly that. Oh, they fought with the miners. The miners were the most difficult. Oh, the police in those days, they fought. There was a man known as Arthur Scargill. I don't know if he's still alive or anything. It was Mrs. Thatcher who finished Arthur Scargill. Mrs. Thatcher destroyed that guy. He was too powerful. But when she finished him off, guess what? We don't hear about Scargill any longer after Mrs. Thatcher. So she dealt with the trade unions. That was where everything changed. In those days, we used to travel in those silly trains where you have to shut individual doors before the train can move. So train will get stuck in station with lastminute.com guys rushing to catch the train because the door is still open, the train can't move. It was terrible. And guess what? With privatization, investment came. Now you sit in a fully air-conditioned train, comfortable, and you don't know what's happened. You look at the Docklands, beautiful place, money flowing through the air. You don't know what happened. That was Mrs. Thatcher's blueprint because the Docklands was garbage in those days. And anyone who was wise or who had insight, discernment, could have bought some land in the Docklands in those days because the land now is premium. So Reeves lays the ground for 1970s style tax increase. She's a liar. She told us they won't even increase taxes before they won the election. They won the elections, they were telling us another story. Oh, there's a 20 billion black hole, so we need to increase taxes. They did, and national insurance. She was asked, are you going to come back for more? No. Now she's coming back for more. And she's forgotten that George Bush's father, another George Bush, when he was campaigning to win the elections, he said to the Americans, he said, read my lips, no more taxes. Read my lips, no more taxes. People voted for him. He got in there, and guess what? He increased the taxes. And 4 years later, he went back to the people for another mandate and said, nope, you have lied. We don't want you any longer. So that's how they kicked him out. Wow. Well, that's the front page of the Times. And also on the front page of the Financial Times, it said Reeves paves way to break promise on income taxes. See? That's serious. Then there's a photograph there of this gentleman, if I may call him that. It's called Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney was the former Vice President of America who championed U.S. interventions. He was with George Bush Jr. during the Iraq War and all those wars. Nice guy, but he's gone now to be with the Lord. I believe he was Christian. Then the Daily Mail says, number one, it says Labour plans to scrap conservative reforms on education. Can you imagine? The changes will cut GCSE exams and simplify primary school tests. The problem is back, where your child will come home with a sheet of paper and that's the homework. They probably told the child to draw a butterfly and bring it back the next day, and color the butterfly, bring it back the next day, which means they're preparing your child to work in Sainsbury's and Tesco's and McDonald's, not to rule. So which is why you're going to have to figure out how to educate your children better. And the Daily Mail says, front page said, the speech was all bluster and lies. But one thing is clear. Every striver in the land is about to be clobbered for her risible incompetence. Can you imagine? She's totally incompetent. She hasn't run any business in her life. And she's run the economy of a whole nation of over 70 million people. Very sad. And number 2, it says, wrecking education. Labour dumps down schools, which we talked about earlier. It's very sad. Then the I paper has the same story. It says, Reeves poised to raise income tax and break 50-year taboo. She's in trouble. And the Daily Telegraph shows a photograph there of Prince William enjoying himself in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. He was on the Copacabana beach a few days ago playing beach volleyball. I've been to Copacabana beach, beautiful beach, lovely place to be. Brazil generally, it's a lovely place to be. And the front page there says, a day after the Daily Telegraph reported on a BBC whistleblower claiming the broadcaster doctored footage of Donald Trump, the paper leads on calls for Director General Tim Davie to be sacked. Heads should roll. That's the front page thing there. It says pressure mounts on Davie after dossier reveals systemic problems with coverage. The BBC is facing calls to sack its Director General, Tim Davie. Yes, and other senior executives following accusations of serious and systemic editorial bias. The Telegraph has published revelations from a leaked dossier written by a whistleblower and sent to BBC board members that details numerous examples of apparent bias at the broadcaster. The examples include that a panorama documentary doctored a Donald Trump speech, and that the BBC Arabic minimized Israeli suffering in its coverage of the war with Hamas to paint Israel as the aggressor. That is what we're talking about. BBC has been doing it for years. Cover from both sides so that we know it's a war. But they deliberately did that. Kemi Badenoch, the Tory leader, said heads should roll over the absolutely shocking disclosures. Sharon Haskell, Israel's deputy foreign minister, said Mr. Davie must go and called for the government to stop its taxpayer-funded subsidy of BBC Arabic, which she called an anti-Israel propaganda tool. A parliamentary committee wrote to Sami Shah, the BBC chairman, yesterday, demanding answers to serious questions about the broadcaster's impartiality, while the culture secretary told the BBC it must thoroughly investigate the issues brought to light. Mrs. Badenoch told GB News it's absolutely shocking that is fake news actually putting different things together to try to make something look different from what it actually was. And I do think heads should roll. Whatever it was, who did it, who did that should be sacked. That is what Tim Davie should be doing, identifying who put out misinformation and sacking them. I just don't think he's sacking good enough. The man should be arrested because it's a crime. And now I'm going to look at the possibility of going through the Sitting Advice Bureau to do something about this matter, because they can do it to anyone. If they can do it to Trump, they can do it to Badenoch, they can do it to anyone they don't like. I know them. Channel 4 is one of those guys, yes. And I have to say that, because I remember years ago, I think it was Channel 4, I don't think it's BBC, they called me. They wanted to do an interview with me. Because, they said I represent the Christian voice and everything. And guess what? I said, okay, I'll do that. And then They came to meet me at home, and then they did the interview was going on. They were asking me my views about so many things, about homosexuality, and I told them my mind. So the guy was recording, but before we started, I did something which I thank God for. I told him, I said, look, I am a journalist myself, and I want to make sure that we have an agreement now that before this material goes out, the edited version, I have to give permission for it to go out before it can go out, because if it goes out without my permission, I am going to sue you. So the guy said, oh, no problem. So he was recording. Then he took me out in the garden and said, oh, and he brought some magazines out, magazines of gay men. And he gave the magazines to me. He said, what do I think of the magazine? I said, well, this is not my cup of tea. I'm not interested. I'm not a gay person. I'm not interested in that lifestyle. He said, so I want you to do something. Just in anger, throw the magazines away. And the camera was rolling. I said, why should I? I said, you don't instruct me to do something, and why should I do so? So that means that you have an agenda. I said, I'm not going to do it. Here are your magazines, interview over, but whatever you do, before you use any of these materials, I must give the go-ahead, because if I don't, there'll be trouble. He disappeared. He never came back, and that material never saw the light of day. That's the way to deal with all these criminals. They're mad people. So, you throw the magazine on the floor, and then they will put their own twist to it. This guy is intolerant. This is how he feels. I knew where he was going. So that's why we Christians, we are not fools. We're not fools. We know how they do these things. But you know what? There's a lot. Even within Christendom, there are guys that do those things. Daily Express says, Reeves is just blaming everyone else for chaos. And that's the problem with this useless government. Kemi Badenoch writes in the Daily Express that Rachel Reeves blames everyone else for the state of the UK economy because she's running out of time. Yes, and it's true. Every minute in Parliament, oh, we inherited a £20 billion black hole. We don't want you to complain to us. You told us you can run the economy, and some people voted for you to do so. So when you get in there, go fix it and stop complaining. That is the problem. So she has run out of options and she's in trouble. That government is going down. Yes, because God needs to teach them a lesson to now recognize God as the one who reigns in the affairs of men. Daily Mirror says, make it fair, Rachel. What do you expect this funny left-wing paper to say? Make it fair, or telling us that this woman is in trouble. So Daily Mirror reports on trade unions urging Rachel Reeves to tax the wealthiest before working people ahead of this month's budget. You tax the wealthiest, you know what happens? They withdraw their money and take it elsewhere. They take it to China or wherever, where they can make more money, because they are in business to make money. So if you want to tax them heavily, they go elsewhere. And you're going to be the loser, because industry will not, get bigger. Unemployment will rise, and then you'll be paying those guys benefits. That's the foolishness of left-wing ideology. All these Marxist ideas, they don't wash. They're totally useless, rubbish. And the Metro says, Brave Sam's always been our hero. It's talking about this gentleman who took on the guy who was stabbing people on the train. The story of LNER rail staff worker Samia Zitouni, who police say saved lives during this mass stabbing over the weekend, leads. And it's talking here about what this gentleman did. It's a gravely injured rail worker, Samia Zitouni, has been praised for saving passengers' lives by tackling a knife man on his train. As his family insisted, he's always been a hero. The 48-year-old was one of 11 hurt as a man slashed people on the high-speed Doncaster to London service near Peterborough on Saturday night. Mr. Zitouni, who has worked for London North Eastern Railway for more than 20 years, was stable but critically unwell in hospital yesterday. The train's The train operator's managing director, David Horn, said, in a moment of crisis, Sam did not hesitate as he stepped forward to protect those around him. His actions were incredibly brave, and we are so proud of him and all our colleagues who acted with such courage. Our thoughts and prayers remain with Sam and his family. We'll continue to support them and wish him a full and speedy recovery. In a statement, the Zitune family said, we are deeply touched by the outpouring of love and kindness shown to Sam and by the many wishes for his recovery. And it goes on and on. I said people will be alive today because he literally put himself in harm's way. Yes, and as I was looking at that kind of story unfolding, I want to really encourage us, the Christians, draw closer to God. And also we have tools that we can use against forces of darkness. The power to bind and loose is with us. And a Christian who is truly connected can stand in front of that guy and bind the guy, and the demon of murder in him will be bound without touching anyone. So we have to always remember we carry something in us that is heavy. Let me quickly read through your messages. Uncle David Bradley says the New York people will regret their choice when there's no police in the streets to protect them. Mandani and Stama will become great friends. Evangelist David Bradley. And it says Arthur Cargill is still alive, 87 years old. I remember him all right. Probably one of Jeremy Corbyn's role models. You're right. God bless you. Yeah, because I was searching for him some time ago, and I found a story in on Wikipedia that he's alive somehow. And our brother Leslie Fisher says, no more homework required. On Cheney, mate. Even his daughter was the rhino #1 to Donald Trump. Think military industrial company. Yeah, I suspected. The BBC did a similar thing to Tommy Robinson. They tried to frame him with a sexual allegation, but they got caught out. You're right. And that's Sister Michelle Njie. Sister Folake Israel said that journalist should be prosecuted. He or she, along with their team, committed an egregious criminal act against President Trump and against everyone who gets their news from the BBC. This must not be allowed to be swept under the rug. No slap on the wrist either. Good morning, VOW TV family, and good morning, Sir Ma. Thank you so much. I agree with you. Yes, they need to be dealt with harshly. I wish President Trump can sue the BBC for this, because that would teach him a lesson. Well, on that note, I want to thank you for watching this morning. I'll be back your way same time tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow night, we're going to be having the prophetic hour with Prophet David Aboduri. And here, we're going to be playing you, when we finish this program, we're going to be playing you the Twilight Zone from yesterday. Whatever you do, don't touch that dial, because it is VOW TV, undiluted, uncensored, and non-compromising television. Bye for now. The zone where the unknown is made known with stories involving real people and real places. You've just crossed the threshold of reality and into the unknown, where the ordinary becomes a dimension where the laws of nature bend, where the unexplained unfolds, and where the supernatural lurks just out of sight. Prepare yourself for a journey beyond understanding, a realm where the ordinary meets the divine and the supernatural leads to deeper truths. This is the Twilight Zone. Welcome to the Twilight Zone, the zone where the unknown is made known with stories involving real people and real places. Yemi Balogun is my name. And you know what? Tonight is a very special night because there's a lot happening. on social media especially. And the President of America gave the Nigerian government an ultimatum to make sure that the Christians in that country are well protected and there's no more slaughtering of Christians by Islamic radicals, or the Americans would have to take military action. As a result, the internet has gone crazy with so many Nigerians out there, so many media houses discussing this issue. And we thought, and there's a lot of strange messages out there. There's propaganda, there are outright lies, and there are so many things going on. So we decided that tonight we need to get someone on the ground, someone in the eye of the storm, to share with us exactly what is going on the ground there in Nigeria. And the gentleman we have tonight is actually the CEO of two organizations. One is called Christian Social Movement of Nigeria, and the other one is Lay Faithful Trust Foundation of Nigeria as well. And is also the secretary of another Nigerian organization. It's another Nigerian organization which is a National Christian Elders Forum. So we have Pastor Bosun Emmanuel with us tonight. He used to be in Germany, a pastor, but the Lord called him to Nigeria. So he will be explaining that to us tonight. Welcome to the program, man of God.
Thank you very much, sir. God bless you.
Praise the Lord. Yeah, can you just share a bit with us about yourself, how you came to know the Lord, and whether it was a spectacular encounter, it might bless someone watching tonight.
Thank you very much. I come from an Anglican family. Interestingly, the last born of 26 children.
Wow.
My father had 4 wives.
Serious.
And I'm the baby of the family. I came to the Lord inside my room using the Gideon's Bible, which was given to me during my National Youth Service Corps. I accepted the Lord inside my room, and I made up my mind that within my first year, I will read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, which I did, and I've been repeating it every year since then. I became a pastor in 1993. I started pastoring actually in 1992 at the Redeemed Christian Church of God in Port Harcourt. And we went to Germany for some missions work. And in 2006, the Lord brought us back to Nigeria. The instruction was go and meet the information need of Nigeria Christians, that Nigeria church lacks information. And God led me into areas in which I was able to gather sufficient information. As of that time, I never knew what we are seeing today will take place. But I was in Maiduguri, I was in Gombe, in Bauchi, in Jos, in Dutse, in Jigawa, in Kaduna, in Kano. 2012, 2013, 2015, at the height of the Boko Haram insurgency, I was on ground because I was part of the team of Voice of Christian Martyrs, and we were taking relief to persecuted Christians in northern Nigeria. It was the information that I gathered in the process of that assignment that I compiled and delivered in 2014 in a message that went viral, a message that was tagged the wake-up call. And I alerted Nigerians, and particularly the Christian community, that what we are seeing today will take place, that there was a plan, a deliberate plan to eradicate Christianity in Nigeria and kill all the Christians and make sure Christianity no longer exists in this country. I delivered that message in 2014. It had a political undertone because I mentioned the name of a political party, and I warned Christians that this political party must not be permitted to form government. That if this political parties should form government in Nigeria, Christians are going to suffer tremendously. They will suffer, and Nigerians too will not get by at all. It all came to pass with uncomfortable accuracy. I will say uncomfortable accuracy. I wish it did not come to pass, but it came to pass. And everything which God made me deliver in 2014 has been validated in the past 11 years by the activities of a political party in government in Nigeria. For the sake of decency and not to sound too political, I will not want to mention the name of the political party, but Nigerians will understand what I am talking about. So that is where we are today.
Wow. The Lord bless you, man of God. Thank God for your life. And you know, those places you mentioned, Bauchi, Maiduguri, Gombe, those are the heartland of Boko Haram. How did you manage to survive in those places all these years?
Well, we were going in and coming out with relief. And each time we went in, we had to be sure of security report. At some instances, we had police protection. At some instances, we needed security people to be around us, to be amongst the persecuted Christians. But I tell you, when people come out now with a counter narrative that there is no genocide in Nigeria, I totally disagree with them, because I documented the genocide. At the Voice of Christian Martyrs, we reasoned that most people don't like reading long reports. People prefer to read reports that come with pictures, that come with images that they can identify with, faces that they can see, places that can be shown, and then a short story explaining what they are looking at. So we proceeded to produce magazines of the persecution, the genocide going on against Christians in Nigeria. I produced 5 of those magazines, each one 60 pages. So I have 300 pages of documented evidence of genocide in Nigeria against Christians. Magazines that show the pictures of survivors, pictures of victims, places that were destroyed, burnt churches, towns that were sacked, secondary school that all the students were evacuated from a Christian area in Tafawa Balewa in Bauchi State, and all the students were relocated to a Muslim-dominated area. We have all those things on record. So if anybody comes out today and say there is no genocide, I will tell the person to produce his or her own evidence that there was no genocide. And I will provide my own evidence that there was, and there is still ongoing genocide against Christians in Nigeria.
Wow, man of God, this is serious what you're saying, because you said from your interactions in those areas, you found that there was a plan to wipe out Christianity in Africa. How can you wipe out millions of people? What strategy were they trying to use?
The same strategy that they are using right now. And so far, it has served them well. You see, it's a combination of a lot of things. There is what is called the stealth jihad, and there is the violent jihad. The stealth jihad is referred to also as civilization jihad, working through institutions, compromising institutions. And most of the institutions in Nigeria have been compromised to the extent that there is a mass exodus of Nigerian professionals in Europe, in America, in other parts of the world. It is part of the jihad to make the country inhabitable, to make the country uncomfortable for a particular set of people. If you look at the statistics of those who are leaving Nigeria now, most of them are Christians. They are being forced out. Those who cannot be forced out are being killed. They are being annihilated. And it is deliberate. I will mention a conference that was organized in Abuja in 1989, November 1989. There was a conference organized by Islam in Africa organization. At the end of that conference, they produced a communique. The communique is in the public domain. I have a copy of it. Other people have copies of it. And one salient point in that communique, the Islamists say, and they wrote, I quote, to eradicate. They use the word eradicate in all its forms and ramifications, all non-Muslim religions in member nations. Such nations shall include Christianity. In the original declaration, the word Christianity was underlined. So if someone is now bringing a counter narrative that America is threatening Nigeria because of mineral resources, I will tell the person, did America organize that conference in 1989?
Wow.
Was it America that produced that communique that they want to eradicate Christianity in Nigeria in all its forms and ramifications, which means whatever is associated with Christianity in Nigeria will be wiped out? Whether it is a school, whether it is a business, whether it is a hospital, whatever it is, and whomsoever it may be that is Christian, was marked for annihilation. It's a deliberate agenda.
Man of God, I thank God for your life, and I agree with you totally, because some years ago, that was around 2012, I was in Nigeria, and I sat with a pastor friend of mine. He's one of the big boys, and he said they bought a building in a state in Nigeria, and they wanted approval to use the building for church. He said the approval wasn't coming through. So he secretly appointed two of his elders to go and check what is holding this approval down. And they did their research. They found out that every desk that approval has to pass through was under the control of a Muslim. And that's why they sat on it, because they didn't want it to come out. So which is in line with what you're saying.
To confirm and corroborate what you have just said, access to land in Nigeria is issued through what is called Certificate of Occupancy, C of O, to be signed by the state government. It is on record that churches are not given C of O in the northern parts of Nigeria in the past 30 years. Wow. Those who have access to land buy it from those who already have the land and the C of O. And in some instances, they will say they want to use the land for educational purpose, for any other purpose, but not Christianity. In fact, Christians in the north say, from what they told me, is that there are 3 places that do not receive C of O. Number 1 is a house of prostitution. Number 2, a beer parlor. Number 3, a church.
Serious. Wow,
so
that is
the discrimination against Christianity did not just start now. From 1987, there have been series of religious riots in Nigeria, all in the northern part of the country, and Christians are always the target. In fact, when the late Rehan Bonke came to Kano to come and do a crusade, Kano went on fire, and Bonke had to be smuggled out of Kano. If not, they will have killed him. Wow. There have been series, Kafanchan riot, Kaduna riots in Gombe, riots in the that of Kano is Syria. So these things are not just happening. So when people come up with this counter narrative now that it is America, it is the West, it is economic banditry, I ask them that was it the Western powers who was organizing all those religious riots in Kano? Was it the Western powers organizing the Kafanchan riot? Did they organize the Sharia riot in 2000 in Kaduna? And when these riots take place, hundreds of innocent Christians are killed. Churches are burned. Christian businesses are destroyed. There is an intolerant brand of Islam in northern Nigeria that does not want to see any other religion apart from Islam.
Thank you, man of God. Wow. Man of God, this is heavy. I want to just encourage the viewers to please make sure you send this program out to everybody you know. On Facebook, on YouTube, on Rumble, please. Very important. Because the man of God is releasing some heavy stuff tonight. God bless you. Man of God, the question some people be asking is, okay, if they don't want Christianity in that part of the world, why don't you break up the country back into the regions that were there initially?
That's an interesting question. But first, let me take a step back and let's ask ourselves, how did this problem start? If we understand the source of a problem, then we will be able to understand the solution. There are two brands of Islam in the world today. There is Islam as a religion, and there is Islam as political ideology. The Islam as political ideology is called Islamism. And that is why some people are referred to as Islamists in Islam. Now, Islam is a religion. Just like Christianity is a religion, Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, Islam is a religion. Islamism is not a religion. Islamism is a set of political ideologies that believe and teach that wherever Islam is, Islam must dominate. It's a political ideology. Therefore, in that quest for domination, wherever Islamists are, they get into conflict with other beliefs and with other societies because they seek to impose their views, their beliefs upon that society. That is the problem that Europe is now beginning to discover that they have. That is the problem that America is now waking up to realize they have. They now call it civilization jihad. Some call it a clash of civilization. No, it is not a clash of civilization. You are dealing with an ideology. And that ideology says wherever Islam is, Islam must dominate. Now, where did it start from and when did it start? Historically, in 1924, Kemal Atatürk the leader of Turkey,
yeah.
who was called the father of the Turks, Ataturk, Mustafa Kemal, dismantled the caliphate, the Ottoman Caliphate, in 1924. And he opted for Western civilization so that Turkey can develop. In 1928, 4 years after, a group of Islamic fundamentalists met in Egypt at a village called Ismaila. That group was led by a man named Hassan al-Banni. They set up the structure to revive the caliphate. They had a number of goals. Number one is to revive the Islamic state called the caliphate. So you can understand where ISIS came from, where ISIS has its root. You can understand where al-Baghdadi, who called himself the caliph of ISIS, where he came from. That is the root. And then they said they want to introduce global Sharia, that the whole world should be governed by Sharia. The body that they set up is what is now referred to as Islamic Brotherhood. Okay. It is that Islamic Brotherhood that is the driving force of every Islamic terrorist group that is in the world. And the goal is global Sharia. They've taken the Sharia movement to United Kingdom. They've taken it to France. They've taken it to Germany. They've taken it to USA. They are demanding Sharia in all those countries. It is the move of the Islamic Brotherhood. That is the problem. Now, how did it enter Nigeria? In 1962, the Sardauna, the late Sir Ahmadu Bello, was moving from Muslim country to Muslim country on what he called Islamic reunification movement, trying to get the Muslim Ummah to unite. His efforts led to the first World Islamic League Conference in 1962. There was a World Islamic League Conference in 1962. It was as a result of the efforts of the Sardauna. Now, on those trips, Sardauna was accompanied by Sheikh Abubakar Gumi Sr., the father of the current Sheikh Ahmad Gumi.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, it's now making sense.
Yes. It was when they got to Egypt, Sheikh Gumi came across the handbook of the Islamic Brotherhood, the document of the Islamists. He brought it to Nigeria and started implementing. The first organization Sheikh Gumi set up was the Jama'atun Nasril Islamic Society, JNI. That body still exists today. So from that 1962, Islamism supplanted Sufi Islam, which was the traditional Islamic doctrine in northern Nigeria. It was the Sufi. That was a peaceful, tolerant brand of Islam, much like what you see in the southwest of Nigeria. You see, if you look at Islam in the southwest of Nigeria, it is different from Islam in the core north of Nigeria. In Yoruba land, for example, Nigerians will understand, in Yoruba land, you can have the father is a Muslim, the wife is a Christian. The children are divided. Some will be Muslims, some will be Christian. In one family, you can have one part Muslim, all of them will celebrate Christmas together. All of them will celebrate the Islamic festivals together. They don't discriminate. And when it comes to the society, they carry it over. In fact, Yoruba people say they do not adopt insanity with religion. It's a common saying among the Yorubas.
Yes.
In the north, they don't practice Islam as a religion. They practice Islam as Islamism, as political ideology. That in this place, before you can get anything, you must be a Muslim. Before you can get any position, you must be a Muslim. And if you are not a Muslim, then you don't have the right to be here, except you want to go to the grave. So that is the root of the crisis that we are having in Nigeria. America did not start it. Those who are trying to bring in America, trying to bring in economic banditry, it's a counter-narrative aimed at distorting the truth and causing confusion. The problem is there is an agenda, and Islam is an Islamist agenda. They've gone a step further. They've brought it into the Constitution of Nigeria. The Constitution of Nigeria today, the 1999 Constitution, is an Islamic constitution. It is not the constitution of a secular state. Section 10 of the Constitution says no government of the federal or state shall adopt any religion as state religion. And the same Constitution now created a dual conflicting ideology within it, because Islam is mentioned in that constitution 73 times. Grand Qadi is mentioned around 54 times. Muslim is mentioned around 28 times. Islam is mentioned a number of times. There is no single mention of Christianity, no single mention of Christian, no single mention of Jesus Christ, no single mention of Bible, no single mention of any traditional religion, no mention of any other religion, only Islam in the Constitution, which is contrary to Section 10.
Yeah.
So you have a constitution that is fighting against itself. So it is that dual conflicting ideology in the Nigeria Constitution that spills over now into the society. And that is why a lot of people have called that the Constitution of Nigeria should be changed. Because this particular constitution, Nigerians did not produce it. It was imposed by military decree 24 upon the country by the military when they were living in 1999. So these are the dynamics that emboldened the Muslims. Because when they look at the constitution only talks about their religion. So for them, the country is an Islamic country. So what are you Christians doing here? That is the root cause of the problem.
Wow. Man of God, this is serious stuff. What you are revealing tonight is heavy. You mentioned there that a guy called Sheikh Gumi went with the Sadowna to visit the Muslim Brotherhood to get ideas about how to do things. So that there's a Gumi today who is actually always negotiating for the terror, with the terrorists. Is it the descendant of that same Gumi?
Is the son.
Wow.
That is his son.
Negotiating with the terrorists and asking the military to absorb the terrorists into the army.
That is the son of his father.
So now I come back to the same question I asked before. So why can't we just split up the country and let the South that's majority Christian mind their business and the North that's majority Muslim mind their business? What's stopping us from going that way?
That creates a serious problem. The perception that the North is Islamic. The North is not Islamic. The Middle Belt, which is not central, is Christian. Borno State, half Borno State is Christian. Southern Borno is Christian. Gwoza, Chibok, Biu, and other local governments, they are Christians. That is why the attack of Boko Haram is concentrated on Southern Borno. Gombe is about 40% Christian. Kaduna State, Southern Kaduna is Christian. In fact, Kano has a thriving Christian population of Kano indigenes, Hausa indigenes, who rejected Islam. They are called the Maguzawas. They are Christians. Zuru in Sokoto, they are Christians. There is thriving Christian population in the North. So we should not talk about Benue State, Plateau State, Nasarawa State. Those are predominantly Christian areas. Over 90% of the population are Christians.
Serious.
So you can't divide the country on the basis of religion. Because if you do, then you are isolating those Christians. And it is just like they are being sentenced to death.
I agree with you.
Because even with the population of Christians in the South, we can still see what is going on now is going on. What will happen if the country should split?
Okay.
Then all those Christians are at the mercy of the jihadists.
Wow.
So for that reason, there is the sentiment that, look, let's work this thing out. And the starting point, let us have a new constitution. And number two, let us return to regional autonomy. We still have one Nigeria, but let's return to regional autonomy. Let each region manage its security. Let each region manage its education, manage its health, manage its economy, and then pay royalty to the center as it was done at independence.
Wow.
But you see, some guys have discovered that under the unitary system, they have unfettered access to the resources of the nation.
Yes.
And they are sitting on it. So that is the problem.
Wow. The other question, because you talked about the Muslim Brotherhood, I noticed from research that the Muslim Brotherhood, they're not allowed in Egypt. In fact, they've been declared, illegal as terrorists in Egypt, in Qatar, and so many other Arab nations. So, but the question is, why is the West romancing with them? Why are they in Germany, in Britain, in America?
Well, from what we can see, the politicians in the West, not the West per se, the politicians in the West, in UK, in Europe, in America. Thank God for President Donald Trump. Some of the politicians believe that they are playing politics. And they believe that it is in their political interest to romance the Islamists. They have come under the influence of stealth jihad, the civilization jihad, which I mentioned earlier. Now, unless someone sits them down and explains to them that you are playing with a rattlesnake, these people are not your friends. They didn't come to share your country with you. They came to dominate your country. They didn't come to share your values with you. They came to impose their own value system. The same value system that turned their countries into living hell is what they want the Western nations to adopt. It's an agenda, and the most frightening thing about it is that force cannot defeat it. Force. If you become forceful, it will get worse. I'm sure the Western nations saw that in Afghanistan. They saw it in Syria. They saw it in Libya. It's an ideology. Only a counter ideology can work.
Wow.
There has to be a counter ideology to overcome the ideology of Islamism.
Wow.
And the West has to start deploying its counter ideology of democracy. And the church has to deploy its counter ideology of love overcomes hatred.
Wow.
That is what will work.
God bless you, man of God.
Force will not work.
Okay.
It's like putting fire, it's like pouring fuel to put out a fire.
Wow, man of God. Okay. You are talking about the communique that was drafted by those Islamists who gathered in Nigeria in the 80s. Do you think President Trump or these Western leaders have all these materials to inform them about the dangers of Islam?
Interestingly, we got wind of the communique from United States of America.
Wow.
Even though the conference held in Nigeria, the communique was not made public in Nigeria because it was under the regime of President Ibrahim Babangida. And Babangida did everything possible to promote Islamism in Nigeria, primarily for his own benefit. Yeah. Unfortunately, or fortunately for Nigeria, he played himself out. He was going to use Islamism as the stepping stone to actualize his own political ambitions, but he played himself out. In fact, in that communique, they wrote there thanking the government of Nigeria for donating $21 billion of Nigerian money to the Islamic Development Fund of the OIC. $21 billion in 1989. This matter has been in the public domain since 2014. No Muslim has come out to deny that that money was given to them.
That is serious, man of God. You know, another question I'm going to ask now, this one is a heavy one. I noticed the big churches in the South, and I'll mention their names. The Redeemed Christian Church of God. They have auditorium that's 3 kilometers by 3 kilometers. We have the KICCs of this world, the Mountain of Fire, the Winners Chapel, the Deeper Life Church, and all those guys. They have monies in the millions or billions. How come they're not supporting our brothers and sisters who are dying every day in the North?
As you said, that's a heavy one. That is a heavy one. Let's even look at it this way, sir. Let's even agree that the money which they had, they did not release it. Because, you know, there are two titles that you read out for me at the beginning of this conversation. CEO, Lay Faithful Trust Foundation. CEO, Christian Social Movement of Nigeria. Yeah. Now, what does Lay Faithful Trust Foundation do? Lay Faithful Trust Foundation will raise donations from Christians to take relief to persecuted Christians in Nigeria. In Plateau, in Adamawa, in Kaduna, wherever persecuted Christians are, we raise small amount of money. Now, we started this project in 2014 with Christian Association of Nigeria, with CAN. And the plan was to raise 5 billion naira every month, primarily to succor the persecuted Christians and to build Christian structures that will promote democracy. Pastor Orishe Jafo was the president of CAN. He understood what was going on. Yeah. He was supportive, and he encouraged the establishment of that CAN Trust Fund. How are we going to raise 5 billion naira? Very simple. We were to ask 10 million Christians to donate 500 naira a month into a common Christian purse. 500 naira from 10 million Christians is 5 billion naira. Now, nobody will feel it. Yeah. It will not weigh anybody down. It will not weigh any denomination down. 500 naira is so meager in Nigeria. Some people use it to buy mobile phone units in one day, and they just tuck it away like that. But if we can get 500 naira from 10 million out of the over 100 million Christians in Nigeria, we will have 5 billion naira. So the churches don't need to bring their money. We will raise fresh money. After Pastor Orishe Jafo left office in 2016, the church leaders, they killed the CAN Trust Fund. I can tell you the story because I was the national coordinator. I was the one who brought the idea. I was given the mandate by National Executive Committee of CAN in Makurdi on 9th July 2014. It was approved by the church. It was approved. The moment Pastor Orishe Jafo turned his back and his tenure ended in July 2016, they killed the CAN Trust Fund. So, in 2020, the National Christian Elders Forum said, the way this thing is going, they will kill every Christian in Nigeria one by one. They won't kill all of them in one day. They will kill them one after the other, one after the other, because slowly, Christians have no structure to stand, to resist what is going on. Christians have no funding to support their persecuted brethren. That since CAN has killed the trust fund, let us start it afresh with Christian Social Movement of Nigeria. I also happen to be the CEO of Christian Social Movement of Nigeria. So we picked it up again, floated another body to do the same work. That other body is the Lay Faithful Trust Foundation. When we started Lay Faithful Trust Foundation, CAN officials wrote a letter to all the church leaders that they must not support it, they must not contribute money. Yes, I have the letter.
Serious.
So if you are now asking why don't they bring their money, the people will not even allow you to take independent money. Will now release their own money? No, they will not release it. Because the mindset of some of our church leaders is that they are the only ones authorized by God to collect money from Christians. No other person should collect money from Christians. And yet the money belongs to the Christians.
Wow.
But they believe that it is only the churches that has the right. So if you are doing this kind of a thing, you are competing with them as far as they are concerned. They don't see it as you are trying to help the other Christians or you are trying to help persecuted. No, no. They see it as the money that is supposed to come to their church, the money that their members are supposed to give them. That is the money you are collecting, saying you want to go and help persecuted Christians.
That is serious, man of God. It is serious. Paul the apostle said in the Bible, he said, I robbed the rich churches to give to the poor churches. These churches in the south, some of them have private jets. They have helicopters. What is going on? What kind of mindset is that? Could it be they are running a business?
It is the mindset of the Nigerian political class, which some of our church leaders might have adopted. And that mindset simply says, to whom less is given, much is stolen. I hope you got that, sir.
Yes, sir.
To whom less is given, much is stolen. That's the mindset of the political class. And that's the mindset in some Christian circles.
Wow.
In Christian circles, much is not stolen, much is collected.
Wow. Man of God, this is serious. You know, I thank God for your life, for what you said about Pastor Ayo Orisejafo when he was the head of CAN, the Christian Association of Nigeria. I was interacting with him, and he was explaining that when he was appointed the head, whenever he went to meet with all these other religious leaders, especially the Muslims, said they were not happy because they said they prefer to have the Catholic priests who used to head the CAN, because those Catholic priests are very respectable. They don't come with aggression. They don't come and counter whatever they you know. But Pastor Ayo met them one-to-one as equals. They didn't like that. Do you have any information to that you can share with us?
Yes, I do. A lot. But they are the kind of information that should not be made public.
Wow.
There are certain things that in the process of this work, one has come to know about the church, that it is so distressing. Pastor Orisejafo, I pray God will send to Nigeria Church another leader in the like of that man. Look, sir, if Pastor Orisejafo had remained the president of CAN for another 1 year, what is going on in Nigeria today will not be going on.
Wow.
I can assure you, it will not be going on. In fact, Nigeria will not have a Muslim ticket.
Wow.
You see, what Christians, particularly Christians outside the country, need to realize is that some of our church leaders are more sympathetic towards Islam than towards their Christian brethren. Wow. And when you tell Christians this, the tendency is for them to argue with you that yes, that pastor, yes, that pastor, yes, that church leader, but our own pastor doesn't do that kind of a thing. They do the kind of thing. They are more sympathetic. Pastor, I give you an example. In 2018, after Buhari had spent 4 years and we were preparing for the 2019 election, on the platform of Christian Social Movement of Nigeria, of which I'm the CEO, we planned a Christian political consensus. Because for 2019 elections, around 60 Christians came out to contest for the presidency. And there were from the north, Muslim North, Buhari, and Alhaji Atiku. I got National Christian Elders Forum involved and then convened a meeting in Lagos. The meeting held in my office. Some Christian presidential candidates came and they gave us the mandate. They gave the elders, the Christian elders, the mandate to adopt one of them. They told us, if you lock all of us in a room, we will not come out with a consensus candidate because we are all politicians, even though we are Christians. Each one of us believe that is the best. But you adopt one of us. Whoever you adopt, the rest of us will step down. And all of us will support him. So that there will be only one Christian presidential candidate. Because we made it clear to all of them, look, you are too many. There can only be one president. If there are over 60 of you, then Christian vote, democratic vote is divided by 60. And you will not make any impact.
Yeah.
So agree amongst yourself. So they said, no, you endorse one of us. If you endorse one person, the rest of us, we will step down. And we left the meeting. On the day we were to hold the endorsement meeting, December 10, 2018, in Abuja, we had to travel to Abuja for that endorsement meeting. That was the day Khan got up. And Khan said it will interview presidential candidates, that it was going to conduct its own endorsement. And Khan invited Buhari and Atiku into the National Christian Center.
What?
Yes.
Serious? Serious? This is madness. Who was the head of Khan at that time, sir?
The president of Khan. I wouldn't, like I said, if they are not doing well, I wouldn't want to mention their name.
It's good to mention
but the president
will know and learn.
He's no longer in office.
Yeah, but who was he at that time, man of God?
It's Reverend Ayokunle.
I don't even know who he is. I don't have a clue. That means he's been bought.
It was the Baptist Convention president.
But then that means that what people are saying, that Khan has been politicized, that even in the midst of this trouble, Khan is taking the side of the government. That means that is true.
Taking the side of the government. Taking the side of the government is generous. I think the reality is pro-Islam.
Wow. Man of God,
it didn't start with Pastor Richard Jafo. In case somebody out there is saying, no, this can't be true. Anyway, that was how the Christian political consensus project was destroyed.
Serious.
When Buhari managed to get back for second term in 2019 through the usual way they do elections,
rigging,
one of the first group to go and congratulate him was the president of CAN and CAN officials.
Oh Lord,
the picture is available.
You know what, man of God, I wish I wasn't. I wish I'm not. You know, I'm wishing I'm not. I'm thanking God I'm not God, because I would have killed all those guys.
Okay, let me tell you the one of 2023 then.
Yes, sir.
2023, there were 18 presidential candidates for 2023 election. 11 of them were Christians. Prominent amongst them was Peter Obi, followed by Adebayo Adewale, and then other Christian presidential, 11 of them, and then 7 Muslim candidates. CAN officials rolled out the red carpet for Tinubu and Shetima at the National Christian Center. The two of them Muslims. They came, and it was like a carnival. And CAN gave them 11-point demand that when they get into government, they will, these are the things that the church expects from them. The president of CAN was there. The vice president of CAN was there. The other top church leaders, CAN leaders, they were all there. Then they welcomed Alhaji Abubakar Atiku, also in the National Christian Center, by the president of CAN. Pastor, no church leader welcomed Peter Obi.
A Christian.
No church leader welcomed any Christian presidential candidate in the National Christian Center. They only welcomed the Muslims.
Could it be they've been given some money?
Well, I can't confirm, but there is that rumor. I can't confirm because I didn't catch them collecting it.
No problem.
But there is that rumor.
But then going back to the Constitution again, because I realized that when they were building the Aso Rock building, which is the Nigerian equivalent of the White House, they put a mosque. They put a mosque in the building, in that huge building, but there was no church, which means they never expected a Christian to rule. And I believe it was when President Obasanjo, a Christian, was voted into power. That was when he asked for a church to be built, which is there today. Is there anything you can share with us about that, please?
And when Buhari came in, they were going to close down that chapel.
Serious.
And it took the personal intervention of Pastor Yemi Osinbajo, that I'm a Christian, I'm a pastor, the chapel cannot be closed. So the chapel was there during the 8 years of Obasanjo, of Buhari. When President Tinubu came in 2023, that chapel was shut down for 2 years.
Serious.
We had to raise a protest in our, I also work with the National Prayer Altar. We pray every night for Nigeria. And we produce a weekly prayer call. So we had to do a prayer call specifically entitled Aso Villa Chapel. And we drew the attention of Christians that for 2 years now, Aso Villa Chapel has not been observing Sunday worship service because the Tinubu administration did not appoint a chaplain. Then some people came and told us that they meet during the week, that there are prayer meetings going on, that they meet. Do they hold Sunday worship service? The answer is no. As of that same time, there are over 6 functional mosques in Aso Villa.
Serious.
Over. So it is only of recent that President Tinubu has now appointed a chaplain for the Aso Villa Chapel after we raised that protest. And we call on the church leaders that what are you people doing? You are the people who gave the assurance that the Muslim ticket will not discriminate. What is going on here? Can't you go and talk to your friends? It was after that a chaplain was appointed.
Serious. But you know, the current President Tinubu will be a Muslim, his deputy a Muslim, and a lot of Christians were telling us at that time, oh, he's married to a pastor, so he's sympathetic towards Christians. So why would someone like that do something that terrible to shut down a chapel? And the wife, who is supposed to be a pastor, what's her role there?
Well, some of these decisions are taken at a level at which a wife has no say in the matter. Some deals were made for support from certain quarters before election. You know, political horse trading. Certain interest groups will have demanded certain things, that we will support you on this condition. When you get there, this must not be done. When you get there, this must not be done. When you get there. That is why, even though President Tinubu with his mouth denies persecution in Nigeria, persecution is greater in his own reign, even than under Buhari.
Wow. That is serious, man of God.
Yeah.
That is serious.
No, I'm not the one who's providing the statistics. I can give you the statistics.
Wow.
It's official statistics of the federal government.
Now, man of God, let's go back to the persecution and the genocide. You know, you travel around, you've been to all these IDP places, and I learned there are over 3 million Christians in the internally displaced people's camps. What can you tell us about that?
Let me correct that, sir.
Yes, sir.
In June 2025, June,
yes, sir,
this year, 2025, United Nations Commission for Human Refugees, yeah, UNCHR.
Okay. Yeah, UNCHR, yeah.
UNHCR for humanitarians and refugees or something, came out with a report that there are over 8.18 million Nigerians in IDP camps.
Wow.
8.18. That is more than the population of some countries. Nigerians in IDP camps.
But what percentage?
Majority of them are Christians.
Okay.
We do not have, you know, because these figures are compiled by government officials. That is the Nigerian figures. And most of the government officials in charge of these sensitive areas will not be Christians by design. So that what needs to be said should not be said. But one thing is clear, there are more Christians in IDP camps than Muslims. There are lists of, I have a list, for example, of over 100 villages in southern Kaduna that the villagers, all the Christians have been sacked and Fulani have taken over those villages. The same thing in Plateau State, over 109 villages that the Christian residents have been sacked into IDP camps. The villages have been taken over. In fact, some of those villages, the names have been changed to Fulani names. And the same thing in Taraba State, the same thing in Benue State, the same in Southern Borno.
That is serious, man of God.
It is real. It
Now,
is real. If anybody says there is no genocide, the person doesn't know what he's talking about.
thank you for the information, man of God. But then, how do we help? How do people get hold of you to help and give some fund? You know, do you get support, enough support from Christians even across in the Western world, like where we are? Because I know that, you know, some of us, we try little by little, but, you know, do you get proper support?
No, we do not. Much of the support that we get is just from some Christians within the country that God touches. Once in a while, we find a foreign-based organization like Revelation TV was quite helpful to us some time ago. Like some brethren in UK spoke to their pastor and they raised some offering for the persecuted Christians and they sent it to us. Once in a while, we get those kind of help, but it is not consistent.
Okay.
And it is not enough to, as I'm talking to you now, I have requests from Benue State, from Kaduna State. Maiduguri is waiting. Whatever money we're able to put together right now, we are trying to do a graduation for some IDPs in Taraba that we sent on skill acquisition so that they can learn a skill and be financially independent. We were able to get 42 youths to go for that skill training. They have just finished and they came back to us that they need support to buy the basic equipment that they need. So money that we have now, we've had to send it to Taraba State. That program graduation was done this week. I think 2 days ago, it was done. We help the persecuted Christians in the payment of their children's school fees because the children must go to school. We can't pay for everybody. We try to buy food and sell food to them. This year, we could not afford to buy fertilizer to send to them. Every year, we will buy fertilizer to some of them to augment their farming efforts. We send medications to them. We gather clothes, good used clothes, and we send clothes because some of them leave their villages stark naked.
Wow.
Some live in the middle of the night, walking by the sound of AK-47. No time to grab shirt or grab wrapper. They fled naked, arriving at the next village without anything but their birthday suit.
Wow.
So we arrange clothes to send to them. All these are things that Christians should do, but can, as written to Christian leaders, that they must not support. Can, the letter is available. So the church leaders refuse to announce it in their churches. And since Khan has told them not to support, they refuse to release the one that they have. So we have our brethren living under nylon tents, millions of them. No food, no decent hygiene, no decent toilet facilities, no clothes, no future. And some churches are building cathedrals.
Serious. That means the CAN, that's the Christian Association of Nigeria, has become an antichrist organization. From what you're sharing, this is serious stuff.
Well, if we look at that letter that they wrote, and we look at other actions of CAN, including this one of genocide, what caused this uproar? Senator Ted Cruz said they are killing Christians in Nigeria, there is genocide. Senator Ali Ndume issued a press release that statement is false, that there is no genocide, that in fact, they are going to the Senate to argue this thing out. And they went to the Senate, and Senate denied, said there is no genocide. And there are Christian senators at that plenary.
Wow.
There were Christian senators there. And then the next thing was that an official of CAN did an interview and said that there is insecurity in Nigeria. Both Muslims and Christians are being killed. That it is not just Christians that are being killed, so it may not be right. And that was what started the uproar. It was CAN.
Wow.
And immediately there was a leadership meeting of CAN. This was on the 7th of October, 2025. And by the 8th October, the president of CAN now issued a counter release that there is persecution of Christians in Nigeria. But you will notice one thing. In that statement of the president of CAN, from beginning to the end, he did not once mention Muslim. He did not mention Islam. He did not mention jihad. Why?
That is very sad, man of God. That is serious. That means we're going to have to pray. We're going to have to pray. And you know, what is so sad about it all is that, you know, the church is not helping. So I want to use this opportunity to tell everyone watching, if you're a pastor, you are watching this, you've heard what your brothers and sisters are going through in one part of the world. I want to encourage you to actually take down details on the screen, take down the account details of this ministry, and please send some money to them. Send some money. And I thank God for some men of God who have been calling me, especially a brother called Evangelist Daniel Chand. He called me. He said, Pastor, we've heard of what's going on in Nigeria. We want to help. Do you know any contact? I say, yes, I have Pastor Bosun Emmanuel. And he said they raised some money in their church on Sunday, and they package everything to send to the account number that I sent to them. So I want to encourage you, please, if your pastor is not watching, you please go and tell your pastor, tell them that please, we need to back this ministry up in particular, back them so that you can actually, you know, be the one to do the work. Tell the pastor to appoint you as you want to go around collecting this money, because we need to send money to them from here. Because when you send serious money from Europe and America, it has impact than the local guys on the ground. So that's what we need to do. So Pastor Bosun, I want to just give you some minutes to just speak from your heart what you expect the church in Europe, in America to do in terms of support and everything.
Yeah. Well, first, let me thank the global church for the support that they have given to Christians in Nigeria. We have received prayer backup from various Christian groups globally. We are now receiving a lot of advocacy support, particularly from United States of America. We want to thank the government of US, particularly President Donald Trump, as well as the senators. We should not forget that this matter of genocide did not just start. In 2020, President Trump designated Nigeria a country of particular concern. After he left office, it was withdrawn. And the killings did not start. Let me make it clear to our Christian brethren in other parts of the world, there is genocide against Christians in Nigeria. There is a deliberate program of action to eradicate Christianity, not only in Nigeria, but in the whole of Africa. Because the plan, the strategy meeting of the Islamists is to turn Africa into an Islamic continent. That is what they are working on. And for them to be able to do that, Nigeria must primarily become an Islamic nation. So they have a goal. We need more prayers from you. We need more advocacy from you. And definitely, we need financial support. Lay Faithful Trust Foundation is financially transparent and accountable. You can visit our website. You will see what the money is being used for. The accounts of Lay Faithful are audited annually. We engage in annual auditing, and we have a board of trustees made up of reputable Christians who manage this funding. So the money doesn't go to an individual, and an individual does not disburse your donation. There is a structure in place to make sure that every kobo that is donated is accounted for and is judiciously utilized to help persecuted Christians. We need a lot of help, and God bless you as you help our persecuted brethren in Nigeria. Thank you all. God bless you.
Amen. Thank you so much, man of God. But I'm going to still ask you some more questions, because when you look on the internet today, there are a lot of materials, a lot of conflicting materials. And I know the devil wants to use those materials to muddy up the water so that people won't know the truth. And one of those sad ones was by this man called Pastor Wale Adefarasin. And Wale Adefarasin was saying, oh, the reason Trump wants to get involved is because we now have a refinery. We're not buying oil, refined petroleum from America any longer, and it's for economic interest. Can you imagine if a man of God of that stature talks that way? Would you say that these guys are ignorant of what's happening in the North, or they've been paid to say those things?
The pastor is playing politics.
Wow.
The same pastor who spoke, Pastor Wale, I was in his church with the Voice of Christian Martyrs. I have the picture in which we spoke about the condition of the persecuted Christians and what they are suffering. And his church raised donation for persecuted Christians. I have sat with him one-on-one, explained to him what is going on in the North. He knows. He knows.
Wow.
But you see, everybody will decide which side they will stand with Jesus Christ.
Amen.
That's all I will say.
God bless you, sir. And I agree with you because, and you won't believe this, 12 years ago, I was in Nigeria. And I was staying in a place called Ilupeju in Lagos. And at Ilupeju, I was on this estate. The estate opens up on one side to Ilupeju proper. On the other side, it opens up into Mushi. And I was wearing a t-shirt and a pair of jeans with my trainers. As I stepped out one day, I saw like a tent with so many guys. You can tell they were Muslims because they were wearing this kaftan. And I drew closer to check what kind of meeting was taking place. That was way before, I'm talking about 2011, 12, before Buhari came into power. And I was listening to them. And guess what? They were APC members. They were holding a meeting about how to take Lagos. And they were sharing envelopes. And in the envelope was money. Because I thought it was secular. I saw it was money. And then the guy who was sharing the envelopes, there were white envelopes and brown envelopes. The white ones he gave to people from Lagos who spoke Yoruba, who were from Lagos proper. Then he now said, there are some amongst us who are our brothers, but they come from over the seas, like over the river, in the river Niger. He says, so they are part of us as well. These brown envelopes are for them as well. So that was when I knew this was a political meeting. I left that place. I crossed the railway line to the other side. The same meeting was taking place in another ward, sharing envelopes. So I went to see Pastor Wale Adefarasi, Itua Igodalo, Tony Rapo, Idowu Iluyomade, and there's another guy in Abuja. And I was telling them, this party is a Muslim Brotherhood party because all of the guys I'm seeing there are Muslims. They're not Christians. And they have an agenda. I said, you guys have to wake up. You need a media house that will project Christianity forward and at the same time back Christian candidates. I was going back and forth. I got tired. I left. I came back to the UK because I saw this problem coming. What's happening today? I saw it coming. But they didn't see it because I think they were comfortable in their position, which was very sad.
Yeah. Correct. That is, it's not the only one. It's not the only one who spoke. It's not the only one. I understand the president of PFN2 spoke along the same line.
Wow. Bishop Wale, okay.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Then something is wrong somewhere. I think God has to do something. But man of God, let me ask you a question. If you are visiting the Oval Office now and you're standing in front of President Trump, what advice would you give him that could put a stop to this nonsense?
Put pressure on Nigeria to change its constitution. Put pressure on whatever he can do to make Nigeria change its constitution and convene a sovereign national conference so that the indigenous ethnic nationalities of Nigeria will produce their own constitution. Once that is done, all this matter will collapse.
Praise the Lord.
All this problem will collapse. You see, what is killing Nigeria is that 1999 constitution. The power structure, the resources in Nigeria, everything is concentrated at the center. So everybody is scrambling now. If Tinubu should sneeze, everybody will catch the cold. They can't do anything. If a state is being attacked, that state has to apply to Abuja before police will come. When they attacked, I think it was Nimbo in Enugu State. They attacked Nimbo. They had intel that the terrorists had arrived, they were going to attack. The state governor called all the security officers, the inspector general of police, the head of the army in his state, the police commissioner in his state, the head of the army, the head of DSS, call all of them. And they told him, before we can do anything, you must obtain approval from Abuja.
Oh, Lord.
The governor called Abuja. Abuja kept him waiting for 6 hours. During the period, the terrorists struck and they killed the people. After the terrorists had killed the people and they were making the escape, the survivors were going to retaliate. That was when Abuja gave the clearance, and the military installations in Enugu State now moved to stop the people from pursuing the terrorists.
Oh, Lord. That is serious, man of God.
It's documented. It's in the media. You can Google it.
That is serious, man.
If I should see President Trump, a new constitution, put pressure on Nigeria with the European Union, with the UK, there must be sovereign national conference. Let these people determine their future. Let them decide how they want to run their country.
Thank you so much, man of God. In fact, I'm going to put you in touch with the lady, and I believe the lady would help you. If you can draft a letter along that line, I can assure you, because her son works in the White House, we can try and get that letter through to that son, to the president. And because there's a lot happening on the ground, which the president is not aware of, but the little he knows that something is wrong on the ground. And this is very, very sad. This is sad. That, oh my, it's very painful. So like you said, because I was talking on TV this morning, and I said maybe you should just put sanction on all leaders, political leaders in Nigeria and their families and all those guys to be refused visa into Europe or America, because these are places where they hide their money. And if they can't have access to that money, that will put pressure on them to do something about it. But then I saw a video where a woman from the north said she met President Tinubu in London, and she was asking him, what do you have for us in the north? And the president was saying that he's scared that if he does certain things, he might be killed. Have you heard of anything like that?
I saw the video. I saw the video. That is why I said there were political horse trading before some people came into power. Wow. Some agreements were reached that you must not touch this side. Whatever you see going on in this area, just close your eyes.
Serious. And
somebody agreed so that he can come into office. It is just true.
But then, you know what, a lot of these, the southern Muslims, what they don't realize, because I was a Muslim, I grew up in the north. What the southern Muslims don't understand is that the northern Muslim only uses them for political reasons, but they don't respect the southern Muslim, because they say these ones are not Muslims. They drink alcohol, they smoke, they go out with girls, so they're not proper Muslims, but they're only being used. But it seems like the guys in the south don't still understand the agenda that these Muslims are operating with from the north, that when they finally take over, which God will not permit, they're going to come after the southern Muslims as well to take them out.
Well, I think they understand. As of this moment, everybody is scrambling for what he can get from the center. And they realize if you don't play ball, you don't get anything. They realize Muslims are very vocal in, at least Yoruba Muslims. They are very, very for an autonomous Yoruba nation. And if we go back a few months ago, when some people wanted to introduce Sharia court in Southwest, it was the Muslims from Yoruba land who resisted. It was not even the Christians. So when the Sultan spoke, it was Muslims in Yoruba land who told the Sultan that you are not our head. That whatever you are speaking for Muslims in your Fulani Muslims. So you are not speaking for Yoruba Muslims. We refuse Sharia. So they rejected it in Oyo State. They moved it to Ekiti State. Ekiti Muslims said, no way. You won't bring Sharia here. It will not happen in the Southwest. So Yoruba Muslims know. But as of this moment, they are also playing politics. If you don't dance to their tune, you don't get anything. Like everything is controlled by the center. All the resources, all the contract, all the development, it has to come from the center. If the center does not give you, you don't get anything.
Wow. Man of God, thank you so much. And I want you to use this opportunity to talk about the prayer program you have every night for Nigeria. How long has that been running, and how long for? And what time of the day? And how do people join you?
Thank you. We started praying for Nigeria April 18, 2022. It's over 3 years now. And that prayer has not been broken for one day. We pray 9 p.m. Nigeria time till 10 p.m. Nigeria time. And we intercede for Nigeria. We intercede for other nations of the world. We intercede for missions and for soul winning. we meet on Zoom. So it is possible for people to join us from wherever they are globally. We have participants from China, from US, from South America, even from the Middle East, and from all over Africa. People join every night, and if it is possible to publish the details on Zoom, yeah, that would be good. But the meeting is on Zoom, and it's 1 hour. We start 9 p.m. on the dot. We end 10 p.m. on the dot, Nigeria time. 9 p.m. Nigeria time. Every night. We are going to have the one tonight in the next few minutes. It's almost 8:30 now, Nigeria time.
Okay, which is 8 o'clock UK time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man of God, I want to thank you so much for making yourself available tonight. With the information you've given, we have a clear idea what's going on, and a lot of us will know how to pray into the situation. And I believe it was through the prayers of your group and many other groups that God brought President Trump into this matter. And with President Trump coming on board, things are beginning to shake. And the Muslims out there, they are afraid because they know that President Trump cannot be messed around. And we thank God for that. Thank you so much for coming. I'll be back your way again. I'm going to call you back again to keep on updating us as to what is going on up there in the north. God bless you, sir. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your support. God bless you.
All right, sir. On that note, I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll be back your way same time next week. Whatever you do, don't touch that dial because it is VOW TV, Voice of Wisdom, uncompromising, unadulterated television. God bless you and have a good night. Bye for now. Hello and welcome to the Twilight Zone, the zone where the unknown is made known with stories involving real people and real places. You've just crossed the threshold of reality and into the unknown, where the ordinary becomes a dimension where the laws of nature bend, where the unexplained unfolds, and where the supernatural lurks just out of sight. Prepare yourself for a journey beyond understanding, a realm where the ordinary meets the divine and the supernatural leads to deeper truths. This is the Twilight Zone.